All rise.
May be seated. The defense may call the next witness.
The defense would like to call George Anthony to stand.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Please state your full name for the record. George Anthony.
Mr. Anthony, on the last days of January 2009, you tried to commit suicide, right?
Yes, sir, I did.
And you even wrote a suicide note, did you?
Yes, sir.
And did your appearances in the media got back a week later after that?
I can remember.
Don't you remember being on the TV show 48 Hours?
Yes.
But you do remember making $20,000 for that appearance?
Yes.
Did you appear on the early show?
Can remember.
All your appearances ended while the allegations of sex abuse started, right?
I believe that was going through you, sir.
Mister, what did you use in your attempt to commit suicide?
Alcohol and pills.
Sácalo.
But the used alcohol was beer, and the medication was for the blood pressure, right?
It was a long amount of medication with beer.
And after that, you had 2 warrants issued to your home for law enforcement to go through your things, right? Not through Katie's things, right?
Yes, sir.
No further questions, Your Honor.
The prosecution may pass to ask the questions.
Mr. Anthony, 6 weeks after that remain of Kaylee, you went to Exana Beach to a motel to commit suicide, right?
Use the mic.
Oh.
Yes.
Why do you try to commit suicide?
I didn't want to be in this world anymore. I felt like if Kaylee needed me, I felt that I failed her. So that's why. No further questions.
The witness is dismissed. The prosecution may pass their next witness.
We'll call Bobby Williams to the stand.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear affirm to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, so help me God.
Please state your full name for the record.
Bobby Williams.
Okay, Mr. Williams. Do you know what Bella Vita is?
It means beautiful life in Italian.
Okay, can you describe me how Casey Anthony was behaving in the time of the tattoo?
She was behaving pretty normal.
And did she happen to mention her daughter?
Yes, she mentioned that her daughter was with her nanny.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. The defense may start to cross-examination.
Mr. Williams, is it customary in your job that people make tattoos to remember their loved ones who have passed?
Yes, sir, they actually do.
You do that often, right?
Yes, sir.
And did you make the tattoos for George and Cindy Anthony to remember Katie?
Objection. Irrelevant. Matter outside the scope.
Sustain.
No more questions, Your Honor.
The witness is dismissed. The defense may call the next witness.
We call Cynthia Anthony to the stand, sir.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Help you God.
So God help me.
Please state your full name for the record.
Cynthia Anthony. Well, Cynthia, now, do you recall March 2008? You were doing some researches about chloroform?
It was about chlorophyll.
Okay. Well, I don't understand how you can get those two mixed up. Explain, please.
Oh, it's because one of my little dogs, it's a little jerky. He was tired all the time because at my backyard he was eating some bamboo plants, so he was tired. So I decided to verify if this plant was making this illness to my little dog.
No further questions, Your Honor.
The state may pass to ask the witness.
So is your testimony that you were that day in March, even though your work records reflect something differently?
It's possible.
Well, Cindy, were you or weren't you? Were you at home that March 2008 since between 2:16 and 2:29 p.m.?
I can remember.
You did 84 searches of the word chlorophyll, right?
I do not remember doing those 84 researches.
No further questions.
The witness is dismissed. The defense may call his next witness.
I call Dr. Sergeant Kevin Stinger to the stand.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear affirm to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Please state your full name for the record.
I'm Dr. Sergeant Kevin Spielberg.
And now, doctor, after the keyword chloroform was found on the searches, you utilized two softwares to find out the searches, right?
I did.
And the one you used was, the first one was site analysis and the second cache back, right?
That's correct.
How many times does it show that the site was visited? How many times does it show the site was visited?
84. One time, sir.
One time? Oh, well, the only report that the prosecution entered was the second one. The one that it states that it was 84 times the one that they entered. At the same website, at the same time and date.
That's correct.
Well, no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. The state wants to ask some questions to the witness.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Now we are going to begin the closing statements. You can dismiss. Sorry. For another question, the Casey wants to say something. Please stand.
No, sir.
It is only you that you are saying that you are just, it is personal, that
Yes, sir.
that opinion?
Yes, sir, it is.
Thank you. Now begin the closing statements.
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, as we can see, there's no real aliens here. There's no DNA. There's no fingerprints in anywhere. So, yes, she can be a liar in the slot. Convict her on that.
Language, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Okay, well, there was no link to Kaylee. There was no evidence. Yes, and the prosecution wants to create a fictional science. They want to create a show for what? Cameras? For a high-profile case? I don't know. For them, winning it at all cost. Well, it's a shame for the prosecution to convict someone without proof, without evidence, without harsh evidence. Well, and what would you do if you were her? Imagine her in her own place. Well, delusional and fictional science stories in order to frame Cindy Anthony and dedicate it a loving mother. Well, tell me, which mother in the world would like to harm her own child? Who? Well, why would you harm your other half of your heart? Thank you.
The state now proceed.
To begin my closing argument, I'm gonna talk about this girl, this woman sitting here, who chose to kill her daughter on June 16 of 2008. He killed her. She disposed her body in a forest while putting her in the trunk of her car. What would we think of a person that really did that? That said that she drowned and abused her and put it in a trash bag and put her in a swamp where she thought it was never going to be found. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I hope and I insist that at the end of this case, your verdict is going to tell us the justice for this girl. And to get justice for this little girl is to saying that Casey Marie Anthony is guilty, that she killed her own daughter. What would we think of a world where a mom that kills her own daughter get us into a rabbit hole that tells us that her loving grandfather is the one that killed her? That's not happening. So I know that the jury would be making justice and that this woman is going to go to jail. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we proceed to the verdict. Will the defendant please rise along with the counsel? Abraham, you may publish the verdict.
For the Ninth Judicial Circuit for Orange County, Florida, the state of Florida versus Casey Marie Anthony as to the shares of first-degree murder, verdict as to count one with the jury, find the defendant not guilty. So say we all, as to the shares of aggravated child abuse, verdict as to count two with the jury, find the defendant not guilty. As to the aggravant and shares of manslaughter of a child, the verdict as count three with the jury, find the defendant not guilty. As for the shares of providing false information to law enforcement, with the jury, find the defendant guilty.
Thank you. Is there?
Okay, that's it. Very well.